All right, so we're out here at Shelby, as you know, for the GT 500H and the GT-H, which we already drove, and you could see the big smile on my face. But of course, we had to talk to Gary Patterson. It just wouldn't be a trip to Shelby without spending a little bit of time with you. And you said, you know what, come out in the shop, guys. I want to show you something. So
it's pretty cool stuff.
I'm already like looking behind me, and it's like, wow. But Gary's going to talk to you a bit about what's going on here these days at Shelby. And he's going to give us a little look at some of these Mustangs that are behind us, which some of them are iconic.
Yeah, and it's really cool because, you know, even from this camera angle, take a look at that. I mean, that's kind of the extent that we take stuff apart. It's already got some new parts on it, but you can tell it's a lot more than stickers and scoops. We're putting whole new front fascias, suspensions, hoods,
right,
you know, grills, everything. A lot of stuff changes in these cars.
You got trucks in here?
We got trucks in here. Trucks are about 80% of what we do. Most of those are done in Elkhart, Indiana, but
right,
we do a fair amount of trucks here. But as you can tell, most of what we've got going on in the shop now and probably for the next 6 months is going to be Mustangs.
Let's take a look.
Let's take a peek. Some of these are pretty cool. This is kind of memory lane here.
Right.
These cars are normally in the museum. So this is a 67 tribute car that one of our licensees did. Barry Smith and his team at Legendary GT Classics, but it was a 67 convertible. They really made one, so this is kind of a tribute and a continuation.
We saw the original one last week at Kalamazoo at the Gilmore Museum.
The red one?
The red one.
Yeah,
we saw that last week.
That's awesome.
Oh,
yeah,
so 68 KR.
68 KR, so this one's special to me because this actually, Evan, this was my wife's car before we ever met.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff, and her dad owned it first and loved it, and you know, it was a father-daughter kind of thing for many years,
right,
and then she ended up with it after she got through nurse practitioner school, and so she's got a master's in nursing now, and he basically handed her the keys, and of course it didn't look like this, so we put some time and money into it, and the team at Legendary GT Classics that did this one as well.
Fantastic. KR with an automatic. That's a fun cruiser. And I think I know exactly what car this is.
Why don't you tell us?
All right, so back in the day, when I was editor of Muscle Mustangs and Fast Forwards, Gary said, I got a car for you to drag test. And we drag tested this for the magazine. We went in the 10s at well over 130 miles an hour,
right,
1070s or 60s, I think.
It's 1084, 134.
He knows the numbers.
Okay, and then a couple years later, you did the 13, and you went 1066 at 137.
Let's take a peek under the hood.
Oh yeah, take a peek.
It's got a huge supercharger on it.
Yeah, big 3.6 Kenny Bell.
It's got the big Kenny Bell. Probably the most important thing to me about this car, which makes it near and dear to my heart, is that this is a car that not only did you test drive and that I was, you know, fortunate enough to get behind the wheel of, but as you tell it, Carroll also drove this car.
Carroll drove this car numerous times. I personally own the car now.
Okay.
And it was the first concept that we did. So if you really look at it, and I remember you talking to me about it because the dash pod didn't fit very well and
it was
stuff.
A prototype when we drove it.
It's literally a concept, and it still is. In fact, it had a 2.8 on it when you drove it, and we upgraded to the 3.6 down the road. But back then, the Super Snakes came with the 2.8s, and it had the 2.8 on it when it won the 1084 at 1087, 134 miles an hour.
Yeah, and this is actually one of the last cars I think that we drag tested for the magazine at Englishtown. Another place
probably because then you moved to Florida not long after.
Not long after that. So then the Shelby 1000.
Shelby 1000, yeah. So Carroll, you know, Carroll being Carroll, we came out with the Super Snake and he was happy and stuff, and without missing a beat, he's like, so when am I getting 1,000?
Everybody's going to want to see the car more than us, I think.
So that still has the big 3.6 Kenny Bell on it, a little smaller pulley. You know, you could get it in a pump gas tune, or you could get it in a race gas tune. So pretty cool stuff.
This was the first color on this.
This was the actual one that that Carroll drove. One of the last cars he ever really drove that we produced. So he was actually in that car in 2011.
Wow.
When we did that. So
KR,
cool
another KR model.
Yeah. KR model. This one is privately owned, but it was the Grand Marshal car for the Las Vegas race back in like 2009. So pretty cool.
I think these cars are going to really start to come into their own.
These really are, and you know what? These were great cars right out of the box. So, and then of course different wheels and stuff like that. Carbon fiber hood that we designed here at Shelby. So a really neat car, really neat.
Yeah.
We did a lot of testing on the exhaust because we really wanted it to sound the part, and a KR just sounds badass.
And this was one of my favorite covers of the magazine for Muscle Mustangs back in the day. This thing ripping around the track at Utah, the motorsport complex there.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a fun day.
And it was silly fast.
Yeah, it was.
For its time period, it was very good. So this is a 2012 Super Snake. Basically just the next generation as we get a little further along. Then we go kind of backwards again. So this was an 07, but this was also featured as the official pace car for the Shelby 427 race that we sponsored in 2009.
I remember seeing this car in the old showroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, this car's been here a while.
Yeah, it's been there, but it's also privately owned. So neat stuff.
Very cool.
Big old blower.